And welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. To my right, your left, is Chad Bryan. I am Eli Moon, and welcome in, everybody. Thursday edition of Primetime, closing out your week strong with a lot to talk about. Today, we got, of course, another day in the Winter Olympics action over there in Italy, Chad, and we also have James Harden making some comments about loyalty in the NBA and the business aspect of it. We'll also talk about the Chicago White Sox, our AL Central foe here in Cleveland, and Kansas State. A lot to talk about. You're probably wondering why we're talking about the White Sox and Kansas State. Stay tuned there. Before we get into all of it, though, Chad, Thursday edition, closing out the week of primetime. How we feeling?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I all day I thought it was Friday. Um, I guess I should have known. We don't have a show on Friday, and we've been preparing for the show mostly throughout the day. So I guess at some point I should have realized. But it's weird, man. My kids are off school; they have a 4-day weekend, so it's like Friday, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, doing pretty good. Other than having no idea, really, just what day it is anymore. I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah, it is kind of turning into like that day running into each other effect. And I guess that's just a winter here in Ohio and across the United States. But, definitely doing all right, man. I just ready to rock. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of the Olympics
Yeah.
and just enjoying Cavaliers basketball, kind of just doing my thing here. But, yes, very excited to talk about the Olympics, right? First off, a lot of great stories, and it's kind of like in full swing here now. We saw Chloe Kim taking silver,
Mhm.
and Miles Garrett, Cleveland Browns defensive end, there to support his significant other, and it just had a lot of cool things going on. And I'll tell you this before we get into all of the, because I know you have the update. I know you
Mhm.
tallied up the numbers and have everything ready to rock. But
Yeah.
before we get into all of that, I just gotta say, I've been watching. So yesterday, I watched the men's doubles luge, and
Okay.
I thought that was crazy. Me and Papa Moon watched that. I was like, dude, do you think we could maybe not? Because they're going like over 70 miles per hour. They're hitting these turns, Chad. It's just insane. And then
Yeah.
today I watched the men's skeleton and
Okay.
didn't really understand what the name of the event. Like I'm trying to pick up like okay, like why is it whatever. So we watched this and they're like it's a single like run and you dive head first and you do the whole running around the track insane, and they're like bumping against the walls. I mean, just insane. But I watched that, and I think that's been one of my favorite events I've watched so far. Is them watching like race around the track. It's kind of
Right.
crazy. Papa Moon was like, it's kind of like Superman. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is.
Until you take a wrong turn somewhere, and then you eventually end up a skeleton before you. Maybe that's why they call it that. It's you're
Well, here's
more
the thing.
likely to become a skeleton sooner than you thought if you dive down the thing head first. I don't know. Maybe
I,
that's why.
I want you to know. Here's the thing. They have possible applications for this event for the
All
next Winter Olympics, and I was thinking maybe we could sign you up. We get you going. You have what 4 years to start practicing.
right.
Three
Okay.
really, because by the fourth year we want you to be in stride. Full stride to be able to
Fair
do
enough. It's
this.
a downhill thing, right? I mean, I've
Yeah,
got gravity on my side. It should pull me down pretty significantly. I think the way it's going this winter with all the Christmas cookies and the lack of working out. Yeah, I mean, I should go down pretty quickly, I would think.
look, I think it's so cool to see in some of these events, Chad. And we talked yesterday about both of our experiences ice skating, but I think it'd be so cool to see like these events live and in person. And we talked about the scenery and stuff, and
Yeah.
still the Olympics definitely on a bucket list for me. I was gonna say like a bucket list item, but yeah, it's there for me. I'm excited to maybe one day see that type of stuff. But before we get into anything, what are we looking at Olympics wise? Because obviously there's a lot that went down. Kind of walk me through the day here. You have a few events that caught your eye. Can you go ahead
Yeah,
and show us some
sure.
events and in the medal
Yeah.
count?
Yeah, while we do, I put a medal count together. I didn't
Yes.
do the full, gold, silver, bronze, but this is kind of a preliminary. This was up to date as of about an hour ago. Here's the right now Italy, the host country. That makes sense. They're out ahead, right? They want to show up, right? They're there. They're showing up. They've got
Yeah.
17 total medals, and then Norway and the United States, are tied for second right now with 14 total medals. And just while you take a look at that, not that there's a whole ton of information to take in there, but just while you look at that, I want to read through just some of the things that went on today, just around the Olympic landscape. Hang on one second here. All right. First of all, there's hope. You and I have been joking. We've been talking about maybe maybe I should go try to qualify for curling, right? Got to get the hamstrings loose.
Yeah.
Got to stretch out the quads. Got to get ready. Got to gotta get the dust off, right? Get a little bit, maybe a little rusty. But Rich Ruohonen waited 30 years to make his Olympic debut, and he made it at the age of 54 years old. Men's curling. He got subbed in against Switzerland in a game that the U.S. was losing pretty handily, granted. But it's really kind of a cool story, man. First of all, he took the place of Joseph Savage, who was 52 back in 1932 when he competed in pairs figure skating in the Lake Placid Games. I was feeling pretty good about maybe being an old guy qualifying for the Olympics until I figured out he did figure skating at 52, Eli. I can barely get out of bed without hurting myself, but that's fine. Ruohonen was a fill-in for team captain Danny Casper when he was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, and developed such a good chemistry with the team that they kept him on as a fifth alternate. Just wanted to travel with him. He just like whatever, they were buds, right? But they ended up subbing him in. Like I said, they were down to Switzerland. They ended up losing 8-3 in the match, but they got Ruohonen in there. So Eli, it turns out that is how you make an Olympic debut at 54. He was a part of so many near-miss teams. Almost made it a few times in the past. Whatever, it was like, I mean, it came down to the last shot a couple of times. His team got, ousted from the qualifying rounds. Came so close to qualifying for the Olympics. But he finally made it. Made his debut. I guess what else happened? The U.S. men's hockey team beat Latvia 5-1 to start 1-0 in Milan. That's good. Like you mentioned, Chloe Kim won silver in women's half pipe. I thought that was pretty cool. Her boyfriend was there. Apparently, he's a pretty good football player. You mentioned him, Myles Garrett. I think we know that guy. He was there taking pictures. I think it's pretty cool. He's into photography, man. He had a bunch of different cameras, and I just thought that was really cool. I would love to see all the video and the whatever pictures. I would love to see how all that turned out from Myles Garrett. I think that would be pretty cool to see. It's fun when guys have another hobby, and Myles Garrett's he's into paleontology. I mean, he's a smart guy. I'm not surprised he would be into photography and know how to work this camera. If you've ever tried to work one of those cameras, man, it's like you have to have a whole degree. It's wild.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised Myles Garrett's good at that. And then in other news, maybe not so much Olympic competition news, but U.S. alpine skier Breezy Johnson got engaged to her boyfriend Connor Watkins. So that was that's kind of what's going around, I guess, going on around Milan today in the Olympics. We've got engagements, we've got some silver medals going on, men's hockey team getting off to a good start, and Team Old Guy, right? Rich Ruohonen showing out for Team Old Guy, man. 54 years old, making his Olympic debut. So congratulations to him. I thought that was a pretty awesome story.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see the stories, first time Olympics for some of these athletes, on the American side and just all across the world, and just seeing like the excitement. That's what I was seeing a lot with the events I was watching today. U.S. hockey, obviously also in play, like you mentioned, against Latvia. They had that 1-1 tie at one point in the first period, where they were able to really kind of put on an offensive barrage there, And I think it's going to be interesting to see what USA does. It's not necessarily like an underdog story. This isn't like the Miracle on Ice or anything like that. But it is something where a lot of these guys are making their Olympic debut. They don't have a lot of guys that are used to this type of experience. And something, reading into reports, the Olympics are more about, as they said, like competition, but in skill and showcasing abilities. Basically, no fighting. Okay, and in the NHL, these guys are throwing dukes usually, nightly. Something that you got to get used to, is just like, I guess, the physicality. You don't want to get a major penalty, game misconduct. Those are things that could really mess up an Olympic run when you don't have a 60, 80 game stretch, to really get your positioning. It's gone in 2-3 weeks. So something to keep an eye on.
Preliminary rounds are very short. Yeah, man.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on, and something I'm excited to see. I got to cover like some hockey, back 8-10 years ago. When the Monsters were making their run. Cool to see Zach Werenski, who's been a strong defenseman in the NHL for a long time. Just to see him doing his thing, being in the Olympics, and seeing some of these other guys. Austin Matthews, former #1 overall pick, for the Maple Leafs. I mean, just cool stuff, man. And that, and like I said, and just putting on the Olympics and seeing whatever's on. Whatever is on, I will sit there and watch. I'm not going to be like, okay, well, I don't want to watch this event. I think it's the stories that are starting to develop. And to the credit of AA, he mentioned on Main Event, I think that NBC's done a good job developing the stories. And as I watch the covers, they have done a really good job making me invested as a watcher, a viewer,
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I think it was funny the other night we talked about just the difference in maybe generation. You were wanting a little bit more information, just leading up to the Olympics or whatever. Sometimes I feel like all that information's out there. You can go search for it. You can not that I'm telling you what to do. But I feel like sometimes it's like we don't like the stories aren't new anymore. Back in the day, we used to watch the Olympics, and it was like, okay, this is the first look at the Chinese gymnastics team or whatever, And it's like I've heard about them leading up to the Olympics. It was talked about they were the favorites or whatever. But this is like the first time seeing them. Now you can go on YouTube and watch, pretty much video from any event that they've been in over the last year or two. Just as an example, I know we don't do gymnastics in the Winter Olympics, but that was just an example. Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that, like I said, the internet kind of it's shrunken the world a little bit, right? It definitely brought, well, I don't know about brought people to, sometimes it's a little divisive, but brought people together in a sense that you can go out there and find really any information that you're looking for, as long as your Wi-Fi is working just fine at a moment's notice, right? Sometimes it takes a little bit to load, but we've had some experience with our many technical difficulties that we've had on the show just this week alone. But yeah, you can go out and find that information, and you can watch the last 5 competitions of whatever. So sometimes I feel like those moments are not as exclusive. Maybe the information's not quite, I made the kind of, I don't know, the reference to the AL, NL, the World Series situation back before interleague play, right? Like when you would see these guys, it's like, oh, holy cow. Like, haven't seen these guys play all year, like that's the American League. It feels exclusive, In a sense, it's good that some of that's kind of gone away, but in another sense, I kind of like the exclusivity of it. So I don't know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's been cool, like I said, just getting to catch up on some of these stories and seeing what's going on. And realizing that I'd definitely be outmatched in the Winter Olympics. Summer Olympics probably too, but for sure Winter Olympics. Yeah. Me on skates, no good. Me on skis, no good. Any of that, not happening.
Yeah, if you see me flying down a hill at 70 miles per hour, run, because something so terrifying is chasing me that there's no reason I would do that on purpose, or it's a complete accident. I immediately call airlift. I'm gonna need help getting out of there.
You were talking about bears, and not to get off track for a moment. But, we've been watching a little bit of TV here in the household, me and Papa Moon. And we're watching the show Extracted. I don't know if you've heard of the show Extracted on television. Yeah. So they have, I don't know the whole idea of it, but basically they have, 2 people, representing, in this, I don't know, laboratory-looking thing. It's, this spot where they're doing all these, challenges to help whoever's out in the woods. And they have one representative in the woods, and they're trying to get them resources, and they have to do all these challenges. And eventually, if they say they want out, or if the people feel they need to get them out, they extract them.
Okay,
boom, that's it. So there's no real end game to what I'm bringing there, except for you brought up bears, and during one of the challenges they had bears because they had to go out there, they had to charge up this light, and they got a note, and they had to go out, and if their lamp ran out, the light ran out, they had to pretty much figure it out. They were stuck in the dark, and got pretty real.
It's like Hunger Games with a parachute, right? Like you can be extracted. Hey, there you go.
And
right.
And shout out Chad with the medal count. We'll have another one here for you on Monday when we come back on Primetime, and some more Olympic updates. We'll have a lot of weekend coverage to go over as well from the Olympics. A lot more stories to talk about as I keep going on. And yes, no AA Anthony Alford update. He's on assignment. He's a very busy guy, so we will get one probably from him Monday, and we'll hear from him on the 26th here live on Primetime. Going over some Elimination Chamber stuff, giving us some wrestling updates and who we should be cheering for that weekend. So, very excited there. But, Chad, you know what I'm also excited about before we go to break?
Tell me.
Okay, so we got a new sponsor here on the Inside Edge Network, and I'd love to tell the people about it. It's Alley Rose Fragrances. And Alley Rose Fragrances, I know you're going to go ahead and tell the people here in just a moment some of the information about some of the items that they have, but candles, aromas, body mist. I mean, just so many great things there on the website, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. And if you use our code InsideEdge20, that's capital I, capital E, 20, all one word, you get 20% off your entire order. And with Valentine's Day coming up, I don't know if you got all your gifts, but it's a great deal. You can get, up to $20 off. You buy 5 candles. Think about this. You buy 5 candles, you get $20 off. Just an incredible deal. Something you can go ahead and get in bulk order. I know I'm going to go ahead and grab one, and everybody out there should definitely go ahead and grab one. But again, capital I, capital E, Inside Edge 20% off your order, Chad. Can't find a better deal, I think, during the holidays than that right now.
Yeah, and like I always say, keep in mind, all natural materials, right? Cruelty free, vegan materials, handmade right here in the U.S. in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's important to a lot of people, right? You want to know where the stuff's coming from. It's locally sourced. Not locally, we're not in the sense of Cleveland, but here in the United States, and it's handmade. So it's all the love goes into that for you for Valentine's Day, right? Even if it's a little late, you order now. Maybe it might not get here by Valentine's Day, but better late than never, right?
Yeah,
It's a great gift.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't go
And,
wrong with candles and body mist, honestly. I think everybody just sort of, it's nice to have, you can have one at home. You can have a body mist in the car, have one in the office, just in case, right? You get asked out to a lunch. You've been having a hard day, technical difficulties. You're sweating in the office. You're like, man, I stink like bad Wi-Fi, right? Throw some body mist on. It's fine. It covers it up. You're all good to go.
Yeah, we keep at least 3 different candles in the house at all times
Yep.
here in the Moon household, so we're definitely gonna be looking and grabbing some candles.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely everybody out there that needs some candles, like Chad said, some body mist, 20% off with Inside Edge 20, the code. There on EllieRoseFragrances.com, the newest sponsor of the Inside Edge Network. We appreciate Ellie Rose Fragrances, and we appreciate you out there for tuning in here on this Thursday edition of Inside Edge Primetime. When we come back, Chad, we're going to hear from our new star here in Cleveland, James Harden, and his take
I thought it was me.
Loyalty. Oh, yeah, well, look, man. Look, man. Yeah, the people know you, man. We've been here half a year, bro. You're basically like a veteran.
I've been here longer than James Harden.
Yeah, that's true.
He has a cooler beard, though.
Yeah. Well,
from day one.
We'll put it in a poll. We'll see. But James Harden.
It's fine.
We're gonna hear from James Harden, Chad, and we're gonna hear about his take on loyalty in the NBA and the business aspect of it, and how maybe we should feel in Cleveland about how long his residency will be here, and a whole lot more. So we'll talk about that, and then later on in the show, we will talk about the Chicago White Sox GM Chris Getz being confused about his own trade recently, and Kansas State head coach Jerome Tang. He is kind of mad, and I can understand being upset about a blowout loss, but maybe some things you should not tell the media.
Got a little tangy, Eli. It got a little tangy.
You sure did, Chad. We'll talk about all that when we come back here from break. That is Chad Bryan. To my right, your left, I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network, and we'll see you right after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right. I am Eli Moon. There's Chad Bryan. To my right, your left. And I'm Eli Moon. And we are Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Talked about the Winter Olympics last segment and everything going on there in Italy. Of course, we'll recap some more on Monday. But a lot to talk about, and we're going to pivot to the NBA here, Chad. The Cavs.
Did there? Pivot. I see what you did.
Look,
You're
man,
clever, man. You're clever.
been watching some, Olympics, man. But the NBA in full swing, obviously. Trade deadline passed. All-Star weekend coming up. And with that playoffs not too far after that. Yeah. And that's a discussion for the new star of the Cleveland Cavaliers and his whole career, honestly. That being James Harden. And, you look at the Cavs since James Harden's been here, undefeated. They have been on fire. He had his home debut the other night and didn't necessarily wow with his performance, but he did have 11 assists and only took 4 shots. And he said, after the game, if I only got to take a few shots and that means we win by 25, I'll do that every time. And it's exciting to hear because the whole big concern with James Harden when he got here was, well, he's is he going to be all about James Harden? Are we going to see the postseason woes? Well, I think one question's been answered, and it's not going to be all about James Harden. It's going to be about what's best for the Cavaliers, and I guess we'll have to answer a little bit later about the postseason woes. But I don't think that's the discussion we were planning on having when we saw the Cavs play last night. A big victory, obviously another win, and they just took care of the Wizards 138-113. After the game, however, and after a warm embrace from Cleveland and Rocket Arena and the victory, you would think, the conversation wouldn't be about loyalty, but it was, Chad. And I kind of see where James Harden's coming from. Just a lot going on there.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it just last night. I mean, we said sometimes I don't know, if people realize everything that professional athletes go through just behind closed doors. We talked about the arbitration meeting with Dick Woodson. Remember the famous the first arbitration meeting ever in Major League history. We talked about Willie Mays and the salaries in baseball and there's the jumps and the hills and valleys, basically peaks and valleys, whatever. And now there's a players organization that keeps those things moving right in a linear fashion. Which, by the way, the Major League owners are probably going to sell all the way out for a salary cap when the collective bargaining agreement runs out, and we have an inevitable work stoppage, and there's going to be a lot of discussion. But for now, the discussion is loyalty, and James Harden had a few words to say. I'm going to bring the video up. We can watch it. We'll watch it with everybody here, and then we'll just get our reactions afterwards. Because, like you said, Eli. At first glance, and when I read the articles, I read the quick little write-ups, I thought, what is James Harden talking about loyalty already? He's only been here 3 years. Does he want to trade again? I was like, what happened? And I listened to the video, and I just see for yourself. Let's pull it up.
Yeah. Quote-unquote loyalty thing I think it's overrated. I think this is a business at the end of the day, and it's a lot of money involved and a lot of decisions that has to be made. You know what I mean? So, like if a player isn't producing, or if you don't see him in the future, or front office, some of them have to do like a job and want to keep their job, so they gotta feel like they gotta do what's best for to keep their job, and they trade players. Or if a guy isn't happy and he wants to be traded to somewhere else, then it's a problem. It's just so many different dynamics that go into it. This is a business at the end of the day. So like, not even just NBA, but like people that have normal jobs have those same problems. It's just not magnified, you know what I mean? So for me, it's always about, like, I don't lose focus of, trying to compete for a championship, and then financially, making sure that my family is taken care of, you know what I mean? Because I'm very smart, and I've sacrificed a lot, financially, like, which I don't get credit, I don't get talked about, but I'm fulfilled and I'm happy with it, But like winning a championship, or at least having a chance to, and then financially getting paid for, me being available and playing at the highest level for so long. So to answer your question, this is a business at the end of the day. So I feel like players should, ultimately do what's best for them, and front office does what's best for them and their owner and their organization. So, it's two sides of a story.
Okay, fair enough. First of all, one thing that I will kind of pick on for a minute before we get to the good side of this, James Harden said he's sacrificed a lot financially. Any guess, Eli, real quick, on how much money James Harden has made in his basketball career?
I'm gonna say 325 million.
$461 million he's made playing basketball at the NBA level, and I get it. You're definitely playing basketball at the highest level. Sacrificed financially $500 million. Don't know if those two go in the same sentence, the same paragraph, the same story, the same world. Okay. Other than that, I think he's right. Right. He's right. He's absolutely. It is a business, and these teams, these franchises. Listen, they at the end
Oh, lost Chad for just a second. He'll be back.
of the day,
About a second.
they you.
Lost Chad here for just a second. Bear with us for a second. But if you're just joining in, James Harden discussion here with the Cavs. Get Chad back here in just a moment. If you're just tuning in, obviously Cavs defeated the Wizards yesterday 138-113. And James Harden had a lot to discuss. Chad, we lost you for just a brief second, my friend. Go ahead and expand upon what you were saying there about Harden. You were saying he was right, besides the $400 million plus that he's sacrificed.
$461 million. Yeah, no, but he's right. These franchises, at the end of the day, individuals like the GMs, the people.
Oh, Chad, we lost you, buddy.
Out again.
We lost you. Yeah, we got you. I think we got you now. 1 second. Oh, yeah, we got you. We got you.
Where is our technical difficulty screen when we need it, Eli? We had one. Where'd it go?
You said we weren't going to have any technical difficulties, so we scratched the scene.
Listen, this show is no longer Inside Edge Primetime. It's Inside Edge Technical Difficulties. That's the name of the show. Moving forward, it'll be technical difficulties. So that way you know what to expect when you tune in.
Yes.
Anyway, James Harden writes a business. Blah 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 blah. Did I get it all in?
You did. You did a great job.
It's a business. These franchises don't really care about you. They do. The people care, but it's about the bottom line, right? And like you said, once you're no longer, serviceable to the franchise, once you no longer play at that level, you're very expendable. And it's not always the exit isn't always ceremonious, right? Like sometimes you're just like Darius Garland was just gone one day, right? So beloved here in Cleveland, fan favorite, and then one day he's just gone. And nothing personal, right? So sometimes I think for fans to expect that loyalty back from their favorite players, I think is a little bit unreasonable. When I get it. These guys make a lot of money. We talked about it, $461 million. I prefaced that right for a reason. They're very well, handsomely paid. But at the end of the day, they're humans and they're cast all over. It's hard to move from LA to Cleveland to Houston, whatever, right? Just because you're getting paid a lot of money it makes it a little bit easier, but it's still psychologically a lot, right? To move across the country, back across, but wherever. So yeah, I just think he's right. I mean, the way that these franchises treat you when your serviceability is no longer there. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame players for going to the best possible situation for them or where they think they can win a championship or whatever. Some of the situations like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors have irked me a little bit because they were right there in Oklahoma. It's not like Oklahoma City was, a 20-win team, right? Like they took the Warriors to the brink. I mean, they were right there. And then to see him go the next season to Golden State in the offseason and head there as a free agent was it was weird to me. It wasn't a move I would have made. I would rather have stayed. If it were me, I'd rather stay in Oklahoma City and take the Warriors down, or at least go down swinging, die trying, whatever cliche you want to put in there. So yeah, some of that situation, those situations are odd to me, but yeah, it's obvious that in LA that whole experiment it was expired, right? So I don't blame James Harden for wanting out of there. He seems to have come to Cleveland and found a way to fit in immediately. The scoring when they need him, the passing has been beautiful. I mean, it's only been a few games, I know, small sample size, but I mean, they did beat the Nuggets. This looks like a different team. And I said, if this is the only move they make, well, the last move, because they'd already, Giannis and Schroeder, I said it on here. I was like, I don't like it, but I changed my mind. I like it. It looks completely different than I expected it to look. And now I like it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm all for the experience that James Harden is going to give us here in Cleveland. probably not going to last long, and that's just the reality of the situation too. But like you said, and like you brought up, it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We talk about the Luka trade in Dallas and how much he loved being a Dallas Maverick, loved the city of Dallas, and it broke his heart being traded just in the middle of the night, basically by Nico Harrison, and just having no idea. I mean, for a trade that really doesn't make any freaking sense anymore, and didn't make sense in that moment.
No,
Doesn't make sense a year later.
Yeah.
A year later, you look at this. It's Anthony Davis, not a Maverick anymore, so the key piece in that trade gone. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But you look at like Luka, and him basically having his soul ripped out his chest by being taken from his home team, like the squad he loved playing for, wanted to spend his whole career with. You look at the Mavericks, especially with Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, they've had that kind of continuation with their legends. And then you look at like James Harden. Obviously, I don't think it was James Harden necessarily demanding out of Oklahoma City when he went to Houston. Now, some of these spots he definitely wanted to go to, and has made his way there. A lot of superstars have done that. But at the same point in time, we go back, the front offices have no problem saying, all right, hey, you don't do well anymore. We're going to move on from you. And it's okay for them to do that. So I think the players feel in a way, well, we should get that same respect. If we don't want to be here anymore and I'm a starter, then let's move on and give me that respect. You see it with Giannis Antetokounmpo even, and they're trying to handle it a very proper way. But if this was the other way around and Giannis wasn't performing up to his contract, they'd be looking to move him out of town and try to get off him. Look what they're trying to do with Ja Morant over there in Memphis right now. So on that note, I can understand exactly where James Harden's coming from, and that's why I've understood and started to really temper my expectations that this is not going to be – I told you earlier off air, this is not going to be a 5-6 year James Harden retires here in Cleveland. He probably will wear another, if not 2 more uniforms after the Cavaliers. Let's be real. But,
realistically, it's probably this year and next year, and that may be it. I mean,
and we may get a third. We may get a third season. It all depends if we get LeBron here in the offseason. That's a big talk right now. If he comes here and he plays, you get probably at least 1 full season with James Harden, and then you see how tempers and personalities, how everything clashes or meshes, whatever. And then maybe we get 1 more full run at the title with that unit. We'll see. A lot of things up in the air still. Jared Allen playing really good basketball right now is also making it interesting for the Cavaliers, mixed with Jalen Tyson really emerging as a young star for the Cavaliers. It makes it interesting. They have enough pieces right now between those two and Evan Mobley when he returned from injury to make a deal for Giannis in the offseason and really just go full Avengers mode. Or they can build with what they have and just add LeBron, add a piece. But one thing's for certain, Chad, this Cavaliers team is the front runner for the Eastern Conference, and I feel right now they are in the best position to win the Eastern Conference. I know the Knicks just added Jeremy Sochan, who was averaging, 11 points and 6 rebounds, I believe, before this season. But you look at the Knicks, they're very deep in terms of like how many guys can line up on that roster. Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. A lot of those guys that would start, for some of these teams in the NBA. You had Sochan, who now this year is averaging 4.1 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, and an assist. But yes, 10.4 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game in his career. Another guy the Knicks add. So I guess that would be the team I'd be like, maybe. And then Detroit, you look at Detroit, and they are tough. You saw the fight between Jalen Duren the other night. Miles Bridges getting involved with Charlotte. Just maybe the grit from Detroit, led by Cade Cunningham. We'll see. But I do think this is Cavaliers. They have guys that are hungry to get either back to the finals. In James Harden's case, in James Harden's case, it's been, 14 years. And Donovan Mitchell's never been out of the second round, past there. Jared Allen. These guys are hungry to get there. And I think that mixed with the talent that is really starting to all play well at the same time, something we've talked about at the beginning of the season. They just seem to never be playing well all at the same time. They're doing that with this new James Harden era, getting that love from Dennis Schroeder on the bench, getting that love from Keon Ellis and Sam Merrill. I mean, we haven't even talked too much about Sam Merrill, but my goodness, 11 threes yesterday for Sam Merrill?
My goodness.
I believe it was 11 threes.
Perfect from the floor, by the way, too. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And don't forget, I mean, Max Strus will be back soon, and it's going to be interesting to see what, how they start to – and I know that, there are no real rotations in the regular season. It's just you go out there and play. But I'm interested to see how they do the playoff rotations now. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, do you think that a lot has been said about the Cavs' temperament? Do you think that James Harden literally kind of has hardened them up a little bit? I mean, it just seems like they're playing with a little bit different edge. You might say an inside edge
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Real quick, I do want to correct myself. 9 threes for Merrill yesterday, 11 of 12 from the floor. 11 threes being the record, which I thought he was on pace for yesterday at
Well, for
halftime.
some reason, I thought he was 11-11 from the floor. But was he? Did he miss one? Okay.
11 of 12 from the floor, 9 of 10 from 3. He missed one of his 3-pointers, but he did come
Let's
close
cut
to
it.
getting the.
Honestly, let's cut him. Yeah.
He got close to the record though by Kyrie Irving, who had 11 threes in a game for the Cavaliers record. But 9 threes for Merrill yesterday. Just want to make sure I got that right. To answer your question though, Chad, about Harden and the toughness of the Cavaliers. It's interesting because Jared Allen was starting to play real good ball like a few games right before Harden got here.
Yeah.
I think if anything, they've at least become more confident in their abilities, and they're playing like a team that knows, okay, Jared Allen, when he plays ball real well, is at worst a top 12 center. But I'd put him in the top 5, 7 discussion. It was, maybe not top 5. I'm probably getting ahead, but top 10 of centers, like in that back half. Yeah. I can see him, being in that discussion. And then you look at, Evan Mobley when he returns, a defensive player of the year, a guy that loves stretching the floor. They didn't get Giannis, and that was the big talk was Giannis can stretch the floor if they were to move off of Mobley. Well, now we're going to see what Mobley can do, stepping out to that perimeter, getting open looks that he wasn't getting before maybe as much because you have 2 guys defending Harden or you have 2 guys defending Donovan. There's going to be somebody open at some point on the floor, and I think that's what this James Harden trade really opens up the most is the confidence of these big men, Mobley, Allen. Mm-hmm. They're just playing very comfortable. And obviously, Sam Merrill, you're able to open up open looks for him. Yeah. That starts to make it really get dangerous. Max Strus hopefully coming back into the fold, maybe for this postseason run. But just like you look at this, it's an interesting look here for the Cavaliers. I don't know if they're going to be tough, though. We got to see with the postseason. I love the Cavs, but we got to see with the postseason. This is a team that Jared Allen has played tough basketball before, and then the postseason, Mitchell Robinson has made him not look so great. So I want to see what happens there. But they do have more confidence. You can tell that the team's playing good basketball. They're on a nice winning streak right now. We'll keep an eye on that. And they'll get a little bit of a pause to breathe during the All-Star break. A lot of these guys getting snubbed of All-Star nods. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, according to Chris Fedor, maybe we might see Evan Mobley playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. That he and maybe some of his teammates were a little bit upset that he didn't get the All-Star nod. So maybe they can use that as the fuel to push them over the edge in the playoffs and finally get out of the second round and move on. And my goodness, man, get Donovan Mitchell out of the second round for the first time in his career. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's something to keep an eye on. Yeah. Obviously, with the Cavaliers, they keep moving. And the NBA standings, obviously, so fluid right now. In the Eastern Conference, really, specifically, Pistons 40-13, but then you got the Celtics 35-19, Knicks 35-20, Cavs 34-21. Yeah. They're literally just a game back of third in the Eastern Conference.
Who would have thought we'd be here after the start? After the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, it looked rough. It was like, are they even going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, and here they are. Here they are making some noise. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, they got like I said, the All-Star break coming up here pretty soon, and they have the Nets after the All-Star break, which will be Thursday, February 19th. So they'll get a little bit of a pause, and then we'll kind of keep an eye on it from there.
I'm so old, Eli. When you say Nets, I immediately go Drazen Petrovic. That was my first thought, and I thought, man, we're going to see Drazen Petrovic. No, we're not. It's not the late 90s. Sorry,
Jason Kidd or
crazy
Harris.
Flashback there. Yeah, my bad.
Oh my goodness. Brooklyn Nets, February 19th. So we'll take a little bit of pause, and which is actually the day after our Inside Edge Guardians preview show, the Cleveland Guardians preview show. So make sure you tune in to the Inside Edge Network. If you're tuning in right now, go ahead and give us a follow, Inside Edge Net, on all the socials. Subscribe, follow, so you know when we're going live. Chad and I will be with Rob from Main Event and Autumn from Jersey Chasers going over Guardians spring training, what to expect this upcoming season, and can they win the first World Series since 1948. A lot in store for that show. So make sure you drink your coffee if you're on the East Coast. Be ready for 10 p.m. And if you're on the West Coast, we will be ready for your prime time. It will replace prime time that night, too. Just a heads up, programming announcement. That night, Chad and I will definitely not be going live on prime time because by the time we start it up, it'll be about 1 in the morning. Once we get back, you get the gist. It's going to be a
nobody
long
wants to
day.
sleep the Eli and Chad on there. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. So
by the way, really quickly, while we're talking about everybody that's going to be on the show, happy birthday to Autumn from Jersey Chasers. Today is her birthday, so happy birthday, Autumn.
Happy birthday, Autumn. Yeah. Absolutely. And with that being said, we are going to go ahead and take a pause. We just talked about caffeine, Chad. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get one more cold beverage.
Fair.
Probably Dr. Pepper. And if Dr. Pepper's out there listening, we could definitely do a partnership. I drink a Dr. Pepper every show. But get a Dr. Pepper. Anybody out there, go ahead and grab a coffee, grab dinner if you're over on the West Coast. It's still around that time. Chad, I don't know what you got to do, but I'm sure you're a very busy guy. You got some things to do during the break. So what we'll do is we'll put up our friend AllieRoseFragrances.com. Put up the code InsideEdge20 and go ahead and put your order in if you haven't so far. Great candles, great body mist aromas, all the smell goods. And with spring right around the corner, open up the window, get the flows going, get the good smells going.
Make the neighbors say, "What is that smell?" Right? And then they're going to ask you, and you're going to say, "I got it from Allie Rose Fragrances." Go to AllieRoseFragrances.com, and here's a code you can use to get some money off. You're going to make friends. Your house is going to smell fantastic.
Yes.
It's a win-win.
I love it. You heard Chad. You heard myself. We're going to go ahead, send it to our friend Allie Rose Fragrances, and we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Chicago White Sox. Chris Getz, the general manager, being very confused about who he's acquired for one of his best players in Luis Robert. And then we'll talk about Kansas State head coach Jerome Tang going a little rough on his players after the game. Bad loss.
It wasn't quite scorched earth, was it, Eli? Pretty close. Right, there was some vegetation that suffered, wasn't there? Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we come back, Chad. It was a little rough if you're a Wildcat player, and made me a little uncomfortable too. So with that being said, we'll take a quick pause. When we come back here, we'll discuss all of that, and we'll get our final thoughts before putting a bow on Primetime for the week. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Back after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. To my right, your left is Chad Bryan. I am Eli Moon, and we have one final segment here on Primetime for this week on this Thursday edition on the Inside Edge Network. Chad, we've talked about quite a lot. The Cavs, James Harden, the Olympics. Quite a lot to discuss here in this final segment, however. And I don't know where you'd like to start, but two very, very different stories, but nonetheless either coaching or front office related.
Yeah. Well, listen, James Harden talked about loyalty not being a thing, right? It's a business. Sometimes we see players get treated as such, right? They get treated as pieces, investments, whatever. And sometimes we don't really know much about our investment, right? Sometimes you get talked into, throwing all your money into a certain stock or an IRA, whatever. You don't know anything about it, right? You're just, that's the way to go. This is the way to spend your money, right? Well, White Sox GM Chris Getz made a trade, not for Ronald Acuna Jr., right? But pretty good Luis Angel Acuna. Okay, Eli, I don't know if he really knew what he was trading for. On 4 separate instances, Chris Getz was noted to say something about Luis Angel Acuna that wasn't necessarily true. Is he strong defensively? Yeah. Is he a pretty good player? Of course. Is he a switch hitter? No. But White Sox GM Chris Getz thinks he is. Check this out.
He's got a lot of potential. He can play all over the diamond. He's a strong defender, base runner, switch hitter. He can do a lot of different things to help you win.
I want to bring someone in that you're excited about, right? And our evaluations on Acuna are very strong, for the reasons you stated. Very strong defensively, switch hitter. He can run. He's got great instincts.
To bring in a player that is young, who's got pedigree, he's got bloodlines with his brother, can play all over the field. He's a switch hitter. He's one of the top base runners in the game.
For him to have 4 home run nights,
Right.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
This is a guy is high contact ability, switch hitter. He's got gap to gap power, and he's got some home run power there as well.
And by the way, did I catch "this is a guy" in there? Did I hear that from Chris Getz? I think I heard "this is a guy" in there.
He's been listening to Primetime.
Yeah, I think he's been watching. It's either John Gruden, Chris Collinsworth, or myself. So he picked that up from somewhere. But listen, for the record, Chris Getz had a laugh about it. Sometimes you get confused, right? You talk about things. I do it myself. I mentioned a possible Cavs trade, and I mentioned Malachi Branham as weirdly. I tried to say that you would have to throw him in, find a third team, but I made it. I said it right here on our show on Sunday. I made it sound like Malachi Branham played for the Cavs. And I've watched that video back, and I keep laughing at myself. I'm like, yeah, no, I completely butchered that. Listen, it happens, right? Who knows? I mean, to be the GM, I'm going to give Chris Getz a little bit of – I'm going to give him some leeway, okay?
All right.
You're the general manager of I guess the White Sox are a baseball organization. I mean, okay. The record wouldn't necessarily reflect that over the last couple of years, but they do play baseball in Chicago, and they played on the South Side, and they call themselves the White Sox. So they're a baseball franchise. But you're in charge of a lot of different things, right? You've got a lot of guys. Here's a guy. You got a lot of guys all over the place, right? You got to know minor leaguers, major leaguers. You have to know unrestricted free agents. You have to know who's out there at all times, like that's not maybe necessarily even available, but who's on another roster that may make your team a little bit. You've got to know a lot of different people. And he gets a little confused. He calls Luis Angel Acuna a switch hitter. Maybe this is his subtle hint to Luis Angel Acuna. Right? You can make yourself a little more valuable if you could hit from the other side of the plate, Luis Angel. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's trying to make a suggestion to Luis Angel Acuna. I don't know, Eli. If you're a player, Eli Moon, you get traded to the White Sox, and Chris Getz says, Eli Moon, he's got this going on, he's got that going. He's a switch hitter. He's a switch hitter. It keeps calling you, right? And you're not a switch hitter. Are you offended by it, or do you laugh it off and just go, whatever? I mean, guy doesn't even know me. How do you feel about this?
I guess if I'm Luis Angel Acuna, I would just note that during my extension talks with the White Sox, when I'm up for an extension, and hey, I'm not a switch hitter, and look how much I still did.
Right.
Because clearly he just didn't do his homework, or I mean, I can understand given the leeway, Chad. You know, and I'm a positive guy, so I'm all about giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
4 different times on 4 different networks, I believe that was 4 different.
That's rough.
That's rough, and it'd be like, so let's put in the Browns like for a second here, like with Andrew Berry, okay? Like let's go Cleveland Browns, Berea, Andrew Berry sitting there on draft night, make some selections. And they ask him afterwards, you know, hey, at the second round you took this, whatever, we'll say receiver because the Browns need a receiver. Took this wide receiver, and why do you like him? Well, they're like, you know, he's got the best hands. He is known for being a possession receiver, and the guy is like a speedster.
He's a 4.3 guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You'd be like, Andrew Berry, that's complete opposite thing of what he does. Now, granted, with baseball, it's like if you hit the ball well, obviously that's a plus. And if you can switch hit, that's great. But if you can hit the ball well and you're just a great hitter, you're going to find your way in lineups. So there's not too much going there in terms of like that. But I would be feeling a type of way a little bit. It's like, dude, I'm like the main piece you traded for in this trade for Luis Robert, and you don't even know who I am. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Shout out Luis Angel's brother, though, Robert Acuna, or Ronald Acuna, excuse me, I keep saying Robert. Because Luis Robert, Ronald Acuna, who
see how easy it is.
Yeah, was in Bad Bunny's halftime show.
Yes, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Robert Acuna is all over pop culture. I mean, he's just like he's an enigma, man. I love Ronald Acuna Jr. is great. I'm glad he's a Brave. I hope he stays that way for a long, long time. Braves fans are already starting to brace themselves for the loss when his contract runs out. But I hope he's a guy that. Here's a guy. I hope he stays. Here's a guy, right? I'm glad you circled back to the Browns with this, because we talk about. Well, we don't talk about it, but Jimmy Haslam likes to talk about the perception that there is dysfunction. We talk about it a little bit here as well, within the organization, within the building in Berea, whatever you want to say, just within the franchise itself. Lack of communication, maybe the wrong messages being sent, whatever. That happens as well, right?
Yeah.
So this was interesting to me. I thought I caught a video of Kansas State head basketball coach Jerome Tang, and this was after, I believe, a 91-62 loss to Cincinnati. Listen, coach wasn't happy with his guys, and there are some things that were said in this next clip to the that I think would have been fine in the locker room. I've been on teams. I told you, I texted you earlier. I said, listen, I played basketball when I was younger. We got kicked out of practice, and we weren't leaving fast enough. And our coach, kind of jokingly, but kind of seriously, threw a plastic trash can at us. Like, seriously, get off the court. Get out of my sight, right? Like, I don't want to look at you guys. But we were upset because we upset our coach, man. We disappointed our coach, but we laughed about it, later. It wasn't a big deal. But I think saying some things to the media along those lines is a little bit different. Just listen to the video. I want to get your take. Again, we'll react to this afterward. Just listen to Jerome Tang going in on his guys after a 91-62 loss to Cincinnati.
Hey, I'm gonna honor Christ like I always do. Blessed to do this, but this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. It is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer, no words. So y'all got 2 questions. So whoever want to ask 2 questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability right now. But right now, I'm like pissed, and this is all right. Questions.
I guess it's just kind of puzzling if you look at your road and home splits. The last 4 road games have been down the wire, run off the court. Just kind of explain that.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked the staff this week that same question, and they said that more the opponents. You play, I don't know, like, because, I followed Minnesota last year closely, and they played great on the road and struggled at home. So then they started staying in hotels at home, like treating it like a road game. And so I even talked about, hey, do we need to change that change? But like, no, none of that crap matter, man. These dudes got to have they got some pride, man. They got some pride. It means something to wear a K-State uniform. It means something to put on this purple, man. Our like, everything this university is about and all that it's been about, why I love this place, man. Like, they don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here.
Just what did you make of the student section with paper bags on their heads?
Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag too if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
Well, he wasn't lying about two questions. He was getting up in the middle of the second answer there, but
He said, "I'd wear a paper bag if I were them."
I should have included the picture for the show. It was pretty funny. They had some pretty good paper bags. But listen, we can relate as Browns fans, right, to watching a product that doesn't necessarily add up on the field, right? That's basketball's played on the court. We know that, but just relating it back to the Browns. And I think Jerome Tang said some things there that I agree with, right? You got to have some pride.
Yeah.
He said he loved Kansas State. That's okay. Means something to wear the purple. That's cool. But man, going out to the media and saying, hey, these guys are garbage and they're not going to be on the team next year because they stink, right? Like, let's not mince words.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to honor Christ, and then I'm going to lay everybody out on the line right now. Okay. I get he's mad. Losing stinks, right? When you're the head coach and you know that your guys have more in them than they're giving you on the court, or than they're showing in the results, or whatever. It can be frustrating. But this is one of two things, Jerome Tang. This is you're either coaching a team that's not talented enough to win the way you want them to win, or you're not coaching them up right, man. It can't. Some of this has got to be on Coach Tang, right? Some of this is on Jerome Tang. He's got to look inward at this stuff.
I'm not going to let you discuss any fault of our guy Jerome Tang, but no, all jokes aside, Chad. Because you can't say that. You can't say that to the media. All jokes aside, it's like you said, it's one thing to get your guys fired up or to say like, hey, you guys got to play like. Look, just in full transparency, Papa Moon was my baseball coach for many of my years playing baseball.
Okay.
So, imagine I didn't play very well on the baseball game, and then you go home, and, you're on the ride home, and Papa Moon's telling you about how you played, so it's okay to, and I've had other coaches in my life that fired me up in terms of like, hey, do you really want what you're after? And these guys, I'm sure a lot of them are getting a scholarship. Some are probably getting NIL money. So it's like also in the current era of college basketball, college sports, I think coaches are just getting frustrated with the lack of care, and then you get blown out by almost that's 29-point loss.
Yeah.
So I can understand where the frustration is for Coach Tang, but you cannot, just to reiterate back, you cannot do that. You can't say they don't deserve to wear the uniform. They may not be here next year, because if I'm going into the transfer portal and I'm all right, at least, decent enough, top 7, 8 guy in rotation, one of the first 8, either the starter or first one off the bench.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to play for Kansas State because my coach seems to just air out whatever is going on behind the scenes. And yeah, I do agree with you. Some of it does truly have to fall on him. Joking at the beginning, but he does have to take some of the blame.
Yeah.
To lose.
Now, listen, for the record, I'm okay with this. If I'm a player and you say this to me in the locker room, I'm fine with it. Listen, I have no problem. It's never leaving that locker room, right? You tell me I don't deserve to wear the purple, I'm not going to be on the team next year. I get it. Like, I'm motivated to come back, and I'm going to play harder. I understand the message. I get it. But to tell the media just feels vindictive on a whole different level. If you're let's back out of Jerome Tang's shoes and let's back out of the player's shoes. Let's be the Kansas State athletic director for a moment.
Yeah.
What's it easier to replace? Like you said, 7 or 8 rotational guys, your top guys who maybe are making some decent NIL, or one coach.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah. And players are going to keep an eye on that with coaches and how they speak. I mean, it's a big thing, and especially when a lot of schools will just offer you money, an NIL deal to go play somewhere else and be the ninth or 10th guy. I mean, at least make some sort of money because they're a bigger establishment. I can't say it's not a small establishment, but especially in basketball compared to the Dukes, North Carolinas of the world, and things like that. I mean, why wouldn't guys go play there? So yeah, it's got to be kind of a balance there. Yeah, just a lot going on, Chad.
Yeah, you don't have to be a full-on players coach.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to let your guys up, you got to keep that in the locker room or at practice. But yeah, I just don't think you do that in front of the media. I don't think that was the right place for that message.
Yeah.
I get the sentiment. I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
I just think maybe telling the media isn't the right thing to do there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it should have been a locker room. I think we're in the complete agreement. There should have been a locker room conversation.
Yeah.
But hey, it's like they taught me back in school. They had like this toothpaste experiment. They'd be like, all right, go ahead and squeeze all the toothpaste out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're so excited. Here's all the toothpaste gone. And then they're like, go ahead and put it back in. And you can't,
Right.
it's a mess. And you get it all over the toothpaste container. I mean, there's so much going on. And it just kind of teaches you a valuable lesson. You can't put the
So
words
Kansas
back
State
in.
may be looking for another toothpaste container is what you're telling me.
And maybe
Very
some
soon.
better vibes. Maybe some better vibes in that locker room because Coach Tang, you can't take those words back. So how Kansas State finishes the rest of the season, we'll see. I mean, they're clearly not going to be advancing very far in my bracket if they were to make it. But not having a good year to begin with.
And we'll see what they're made of, and we'll see a little bit about what this relationship, what this dynamic is like between coach and player. Because if this puts a chip on their shoulder and they rip off a bunch of wins, well, not a bunch because there's not much of the season left, but if they rip off a few wins in a row and start to play pretty well through the Big 12 tournament, whatever, then suddenly you're like, okay, well, maybe that worked, right? Like, maybe that message worked. He may have a better finger on the pulse of his players than I thought, but that just seemed like a guy who's just done, right?
Could be. They're 10-14 right now. They have some big matchups coming up the rest of the way, including Valentine's Day on Saturday. They play at Houston, number 3 team in the nation.
Yeah.
Then they have another matchup a few games after at number 16 Texas Tech. They have some other, really just to finish out like Big 12 action for the rest of the way. They have in between, they have Baylor earlier on, and then Colorado, TCU, West Virginia, and then at number 9 Kansas. So 3 top 25 opponents, all on the road at Houston, at Texas Tech, at Kansas. If they can go on a run, those are 3 big wins to boost your resume as well. And then we'll see what kind of momentum they have for a Big 12 tournament. But, yeah, we'll see what the vibes are like in Kansas State. They are not the vibes of Miami, Ohio, though. I'll tell you that. Two different teams we talked about in the last, this week alone with the Miami, Ohio Redhawks and Kansas State Wildcats. And so, yeah, Chad, just wild.
Yeah, truly.
So, with that being said, Chad, hey, I think we talked a lot this week. My mouth is like, all right, you're done. That's the end of the podcast.
That's it. Yeah, you hit the end of your. Yeah, it's an hour. You're done. Stop talking.
With that being said, before we get out of here for this Thursday edition of Primetime, put a bow on this for the week. Go ahead and do you have any final thoughts for our peeps out there?
Listen, if you're frustrated with your players, or your family or somebody, if you're frustrated with someone's results or their effort, remember to keep it in house, right? Don't go tell everybody. Don't post it on Facebook. Don't tell them. I guess that would be the normal person's equivalent of a press conference, right?
Yeah.
I don't often go sit in front of the press and go, my kids were acting up. They don't deserve to wear the family shirt. You got 2 questions. Hit me. What's going on? You know what I mean? I don't do that. I just keep it in house, right? Just remember that maybe a quick one-on-one or coach on player, whatever, coach on team, 12, 15 guys, however many, I don't know how many are on the roster at Kansas State. I don't know that. But have a conversation with your people, right? If you're a little bit frustrated with the results or the effort that you're getting from someone, maybe don't air them out publicly. Keep it in house. And also remember, it's never too late to start trying to qualify for the Olympics, right?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I like that. I like that idea, my friend. I think you have plenty of time for the next Olympics.
Yeah, Salt Lake City. Here I come.
That's what I'm talking about, Chad.
Right.
We'll start working on that. We'll get some updates throughout the weeks and see if we can get some progress for you going in terms of curling. I know you've been doing a lot of studying. Very excited to see what's going on there.
Yes.
And then of course, I guess I have a final thought. My final thought of the week is it's officially at midnight, and it's 11:34 on the East Coast. at midnight, it'll officially be 2 weeks until my album Golden Child drops. For those out there, I'm actually doing this very differently. I'm dropping the album not on streaming platforms. It'll be available to purchase, and then you can actually, the cool thing about this is you can download the album. You can actually save it. You don't need to like pay for it, subscription base. You pay for it once, and then you get the album. I'm really proud of this project Narrator and I put together. I've been working on it with over a year, and we have the album release show for those that are in the Ohio state of Ohio or in the Cleveland area. Brothers Lounge in Lakewood. We're going to be having the album release show February 27th. Doors at 7, show at 8. $10 tickets. Got a lot of cool stuff going on that night as well. So very, very excited about that. And yeah, Chad.
Eli, I cannot wait to sit in the studio studying for the next show, whatever that is. Whenever I get my Alley Rose Fragrances candle,
yes,
and burn my candle and listen to some Eli Moon, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to the album. That's 100% vibes. No Jerome Tang in sight.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate it. It's gonna be a great time. Like I said, if you're in Ohio, come on out. We're building a strong community, and I'd love to see you all there. I love being around good vibes, good people, and I think it's gonna be a great night. So, with that being said, shout out to our sponsor, Alley Rose Fragrances. As Chad mentioned, go ahead, use the code InsideEdge20, capital I, capital E, all one word, InsideEdge20 for 20% off of your order on candles, aromas, body mist, all the great stuff, and support our friend Alley Rose and Alley Rose Fragrances. And with that being said, Chad and I are going to sign off for the week. Chad will be back Saturday, so whether you consider that the beginning or the end of your week, that's up to you. But he will be back Saturday with his buddy and his bro, TK Dandridge, for Illegal Formation, 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in here on the Inside Edge Network, followed by Real Talk with Papa Moon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. Great guest, locally grown music podcast here in Cleveland. Great conversation, and as always, it gets pretty real with Papa Moon. So excited for that Saturday. Sunday action, you have 11 a.m., the Sunday Sports Show. Chad, TK, and Ryan Mosser giving you all the updates. And then Sunday night, main event, Robert Zicki, Double A, Anthony Alford, and myself, Eli Moon. We may be a little bit earlier than the evening. Keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll have a post on social media. But we may go a little earlier with no football, so we might be less of a wait between the Sunday Sports Show and the main event, Chad. But I'm excited. I think you got a lot to talk about this weekend. Stuff we don't even know what's happened yet. I'm sure that we'll be chatting about by next week.
Yeah, if there's any new Olympic news, we'll have that for you. TK and I are going to talk about just the kind of impact of the James Harden trade, how because we texted quite a bit, and we talked about it initially, and we thought, man, this is it. But again, I've totally changed my mind already, just after a few games. This looks like the key. And I keep picturing like Dan Gilbert going to Kobe Altman and going, listen, these guys are soft. You got to harden them up. And he was like, harden, you say?
James.
You know, right? And that's how that thing happened. Maybe not. I can dream. And then Sunday, don't miss that show. Don't miss the Sunday Sports Show on Sunday morning at 11. We're going to talk. We'll get back into Ryan Mosser's big board. We're going to hopefully talk some centers and wide receivers if he's ready to do that. I know he's running the algorithm behind the scenes and trying to it's an immense amount of work and just an immense amount of data and information that he is going through. It's actually really, really amazing. So please don't miss that. It's worth honestly watching the show just to see his work on this algorithm alone. But then we're going to talk about, I think this is going to be fun. Who do you have, 4 people, right, on your Cleveland Athletics Mount Rushmore? I think that's going to be a fun discussion. I think LeBron is a given, right? I think you got to put him up there. He brought the city the first championship in 50 whatever years back in 2016. I think Jose Ramirez is there for everything he's done for the city and for the Guardians. Who else will we put? Is it Jim Brown? Is it is it Mark Price? Is it, I don't know. I mean, who's
Jamario Moon?
Yeah, it could be anybody, right? It could be anybody. Listen, we're going to talk about who rounds out our 4 guys that we would put on, our 4 athletes that we would put on our Cleveland Athletics, Cleveland Sports, Cleveland Professional Sports, Mount Rushmore. I think that'll be a fun discussion.
I love it. Love it. Great weekend coming up here. Chad, TK, Ryan Mosser, Papa Moon, and, of course, Rob, Double A, and myself, Eli Moon, here with you throughout the weekend. We'll be back with Primetime. Inside Edge Primetime returns Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday. Got a lot of great stuff coming up with Primetime next week, so stay tuned there. As always, Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Again, shout out to Alley Rose Fragrances. Shout out to all of you out there for tuning in, choosing us as your source of sports, entertainment, mental health, and everything in between. Give the network a follow, Inside Edge Net, and all the socials. And until next week, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we love you. We'll see you real soon, all right?